Call me Sean Connery because today we're punching birds, jungle birds. It's a Clarified Milk Punch episode. Don't cancel me. The Clarified Milk Punch is something that over the last 10 or so years has really came back into fashion. If you watched earlier in the week, you saw that I'm trying to focus heavily on Campari in this week's set of videos. And this is no different. I think Campari is a great option and a great contender for the Clarified Milk Punch. It's great at stripping away colour and bitter rough edges of drinks, which for many is the one issue with Campari. There's a lot of misinformation out there about the milk punch. Probably the biggest one is that it takes an awful long time to make them. It doesn't. They're actually really easy. All you need is some whole milk and a normal cocktail spec. As long as you've got that and maybe half an hour, you're good to go. Yes, there's going to be some time where you're waiting for the cocktail to strain, but it's not days. It's maybe at most a couple of hours in total to get your entire milk punch done. Some cocktails, admittedly, I have milk punched and it has took 6-7 hours for the entirety of the punch to strain through, and that can be for 15-16 serves. But if you're only making 2 or 3 like we are today, from start to finish, you should be drinking your drink in less than an hour. Yes, it's longer than a normal cocktail, but it doesn't take as long as everyone says. It shouldn't be something that intimidates you, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to punch cocktails today. What cocktail am I punching, I hear you ask? The Jungle Bird. I'm going to do a slight twist on the Jungle Bird that I posted on Monday and show how easy it is to milk punch that cocktail. All you need is your cocktail to have quite a fair amount of citrus in it, which is why I've upped the lime juice in this recipe slightly. To show you how easy it is, I'm just going to get straight into it. There's no funky acids or acid adjustments on the pineapple juice or any of the other juices today. Let's punch a Jungle Bird. Today's recipe is going to be enough for 2 servings, but if you want to half it, half it. If you want to times it by 4 and make 8, you do you, it really does not matter. I'm here to just show you the process and how simple it is to make a really tasty Clarified Milk Punch. So first, we're going to need the citrus element, which is a key component of any milk punch. Sometimes you can do this with acid adjustments using some of the acids on show here, whether it's lactic, tartaric, malic or citric. They could be a great way to implement a change in the pH of, for example, pineapple juice if you wanted to omit the lime. I'm not doing that today, but in a later video I'll show you how to pH adjust pineapple juice, cranberry juice, apple juice and many other juices that you can replace your citrus with in a cocktail. But for today we're keeping it simple and we're going to start with our lime juice. As this recipe calls for 2, all these are going to be doubled up, so don't panic when you hear the ingredients. 60 ml or 2 ounces of lime juice to your large tin. 60 ml or 2 ounces of pineapple juice. Next, I'm going to add 15 ml of simple syrup just to add a touch more sweetness to the drink. Next, we've got the spirits. In Monday's video, I used 15 ml of Campari per serving. Today I'm going to up that slightly to 30 ml per serving. So that is 2 ounces or 60 ml of Campari to your tin. If you want to hear me wax lyrical about Campari, Monday's video has all of that in. Now for the rum, I used 45 ml of Blackwells in the video on Monday, but today I'm going to add a little bit of overproof into the mix as well. So in total I'm going to do 30 ml of Blackwells per drink. So 60 ml in total. Finally, for a bit of oomph in the drink, I'm going to add one of my favourite products into it. This is the OFTD from Plantaray Rum. I'd go as far as saying my favourite overproof spirit. This is going to impart a lot of richness and a bit of a kick into this drink, and I think it's going to make the world of difference. So I'm going to add 30 ml or 1 ounce into the tin. So in here you now have 2 portions of the Jungle Bird. So here we've got 70 ml of whole milk. The general rule that I use is around 20 to 25% of the volume of the cocktail in milk. I then add the cocktail directly into the milk, not the other way around. I tend to find that forms the bigger, best curds in the quickest time. When you've got your 70ml of whole milk and your 2 cocktails, you're just going to slowly pour this into the milk. Straight away, it starts to curdle, and that is exactly what should happen. You're trying to use the acid in the lime juice to denature the proteins within the milk. What this does is breaks down the colloid structure of the curds, meaning that the curds bind together. This may look disgusting, it may sound vile, but trust me, it's an essential part of the process. The whey will remain, giving the drink a nice body, dilating it slightly, and overall just creating this silky, velvety mouthfeel. This does not need to sit overnight or for 24 hours like many people will say. The curds are already forming. I'm going to give this maybe 10 minutes and then I'm going to start on the first strain. So I'll see you in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes have passed, and as you can probably see, it's very curdled, which is exactly what we wanted. I don't believe from the experiments I've done that leaving this for any more time would actually change it a whole lot. And at the end of the day, during the filtration process, the liquid's still together. It's not as if the reaction is going to stop taking place because we've started the filtration. To me, 10 minutes is perfect and all it takes. I'll be honest, it hasn't really changed since about 3 or 4 minutes in. But I give it 10 minutes just so people didn't moan, and no doubt you still will anyway. So the next step is to start straining. And I would always recommend doing the first strain into a separate mixing glass rather than where you're going to keep the liquid at the end. I've got a mixing glass here and I'm going to take one funnel with a built-in filter and pop that over the mixing glass. It's time to strain. What you'll notice is initially it doesn't run clear. This is perfectly fine, and it's why we've actually used the second mixing glass. This is going to be strained again through the same curds later on. After it starts to run clear like this, it'll take a couple of minutes. Pop that over a new mixing jar or beaker, as I'm going to do, and pour the contents of the mixing glass that are milky through the curds once again. I've got 3 filters set up on a stand in 3 funnels. That'll drip straight over the beaker I'm going to store the liquid in. So what I'm going to do is pop this filter over this one, and once that's in play, I'm going to top this up, and slowly but surely this will drip through one filter into the next, and come out clear as anything at the bottom. The reason you want to use the same filter with the curds in is because they work as a great strainer to strip out the colours, as I've said earlier. And before you know it, there we go, a clear liquid at the bottom. Then every 5 minutes or so, just top up the filter with the remaining Jungle Bird mix and you'll be good to go in an hour or so. Doing it the way I do it is probably a bit over and above, admittedly, but it does mean in the space of an hour, I'll have the drinks ready to go. You could scale this up and it would work just as well, just use bigger funnels. So yeah, that is the milk punch process. Luckily, you guys don't have to wait and I'm going to cut to an hour from now. But for me, I can go and chill, put the feet up, whilst that is going to work away in the background. So just over an hour has passed, I've had time to spruce myself up, have a quick cup of tea, and here we are. The majority has filtered through, there's still a few drops coming, but as I said, an hour and a half, that's all you need to get a really clear milk punch. Could you strain this over and over again to get a really, really clear product? Definitely, yes you can. And if you were going for a competition entry or just striving for that 10 out of 10 cocktail, by all means, keep passing it through the curds over and over again. For me, I think it's marginal gains after this point. I think personally this is a really nice clear product. I'm very happy with this for around an hour and a half's work. I think that's really good yield. As I said earlier, with bigger funnels and a bigger setup, you'd be able to get an incredible amount of yield looking crystal clear in a short amount of time. Now to actually give it a go. To serve, I'm going to pour 120ml of the Clarified Jungle Bird mix into a chilled rocks glass with a nice clear cube of ice. So I've added in around 120ml to this. So there you have it, a clarified jungle bird. Yeah, it's really nice. I've used more Campari per serve that you would normally in a jungle bird, and you can slightly taste more bitterness. But the reason I added the Campari is knowing that the milk punch strips out a lot of the bitterness. There's still that subtle bitter aftertaste there, but it's nowhere near as intense as Campari normally is. One thing I love about milk punch and Campari is that this really deep dark red colour is stripped out completely. I think it's great when you can take an ingredient and hide it and mask it completely. This wouldn't, you'd never look at this and think instantly grapefruit Campari. I'll zoom in on that. That is completely clear. I'll pop a photo up just to show how clear this is. It's completely translucent. In terms of the flavour that's coming through, the fresh citrus gets rounded out quite a bit during this process, but you replace with this velvety, creamy body on the drink. Definitely tasting the rums. I'm really glad I used the OFTD. It's got a lot more punch than just the Blackwells, and it allows this deep molasses-esque flavour to come through. It's rich, it's sweet, it's a perfectly balanced drink. I really like this. It's the first time I've used this spec in a milk punch, and it's one I'd definitely make again. I'm thinking of doing a bigger batch of this actually. This is really tasty. One last point actually on milk punches in terms of batches. Whether you work at a big bar or whether you're a home bartender, if you're getting into milk punches and you're not sure whether you're going to like the recipe, do this first. Spend an hour, get 2 servings, 1 serving, 3 servings, something small, get them together and sample it. Early on I used to make this mistake all the time. I actually remember the first milk punch I did, verging on 4 or 5 years ago now. For some reason I wanted to make a wordsmith, which is a rum based last word, and I decided to look online for some recipes and found one that called for 350ml of each spirit and 350ml of lime juice. This was ridiculous in hindsight. This is more than 10 servings. I made it, it was tasty, but I didn't want 10. If I'd have done something similar to this, made 2 or 3 drinks, I'd have been much happier. I could have trialled it, and if I really enjoyed it, I could then batch up bigger. This is the ideal size. Don't get me wrong, you don't need science stands, you don't need all the best funnels in the world. A little bit of J-cloth or muslin cloth will do the trick. A small strainer, even a tea strainer, will do the trick too. You don't need beakers, you can just use what you've got. I never used to use stuff like this. It was quite a tin pot setup with lots of glass bowls, but they did the trick and it worked at the time. I'm not saying you need all the equipment in the world. Milk punching shouldn't seem difficult. It shouldn't seem like this big challenging task for people, when in reality, all you're doing is putting a cocktail in milk and letting it sit for an hour. It's not rocket science, but it does create some wonderfully stunning cocktails with this really unique milk punch taste, texture and look, because for some reason 90% of milk punches look like a sample. It's definitely not going to be the last time you see me milk punch cocktails on this page. I want to get into some more ways you can do the milk punch with alternative milks, infused milks, vegan options too, and I'm excited to give them all a go further down the line. I want to thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, feel free to drop a like, and you can always subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content every Monday and Friday. If you want to see some daily content from me, you're more than welcome to go over to Speakeasy UK on Instagram, where you'll see some content like this and content not really like this. That was the Clarified Jungle Bird. It's been a pleasure, and until next time, I'll see you all very soon. Cheers.